All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Mortgage Coach Trust Engine Tuesday interview. I have as our special guest today someone that may be a record breaker in terms of coaches, leaders, and mentors in the market, in terms of people I've had on this stage. Welcome, Todd Duncan.
Hey, Savage. Good to see you. Good to be with the Trust Engine Tribe, and love that word, trust engine. Let's drive trust. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Good to be with you.
Well, you have been driving trust for multiple decades. High Trust Selling is one of the most valuable books I think every mortgage professional and real estate professional, and really anybody in sales, High Trust Selling is just an incredibly valuable framework. So I'm pumped to have you here today, brother.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the mortgage industry knows who you are, but just in case there's some brand new, well, not just in case, there are brand new loan officers still coming in every year, every month. Pretty new loan officer. How would you frame who Todd Duncan is?
First thing I would say is that I've walked in your shoes successfully. I was an originator for 12 years, and my team and I closed almost 6,000 loans, and had a bigger calling to come out and teach people in mortgage how to sell professionally. And so we began that journey in 1992, and here we are today in 2023, still going strong. And I think at this point, between loan and broker originators, real estate agents, and consumers, we've impacted over 100 million people in those 30 years in 9 countries, and it's an exciting journey. I feel blessed to be here and blessed to share wisdom and truth. And I was talking with a guy the other day. He goes, "You've now joined the Great Beard Society," but I said, "No, I don't have a great beard, but Savage does," and that's supposed to mean wisdom, sage advice.
Love that. And for any new loan officers, if you follow the community, the YouTube channel we've built over the years, it all started on a sales mastery stage 26 years ago. And not only is Todd absolutely the most prolific trainer and leader. Like, when you look at a lot of the top producers in America that are doing over 100 million, they either came from that stage, or they were trained from someone that came from that stage. So really important community. Make sure you follow Todd Duncan and all of his social media channels. Anyways, I think this is a very important year in mortgage. I like the way you themed today's conversation as the reality of now. And this is part 1 of a part 2 conversation. We're going to have part 2 this Friday at 9:00. So make sure you tune into this, whether you're watching this live or the recording. There's going to be a part 2 this Friday, 9:00. Don't miss it. So Todd, you came up with the headline, "Make 10 to 30,000 more a month, even in this market." I guess before you get into the presentation and the takeaways, like, why, how did you come across this headline, and why is this the theme today?
The simple truth is that people today and in the market that we're in, I don't think appreciate the opportunity that exists. We have this unique moment in time where we've had a kind of a vortex of the market, right? We had 2 or 3 years of relatively low interest rates and business kind of coming in, and it got us to a point where I think we don't appreciate or we have forgotten the muscles that it really takes to build a business and to run a business the right way. And so we began looking back at what are the hallmark character traits of winners in any difficult economy. And the hallmark character traits of winners is that they do what everybody else doesn't want to do. And so we have people today that are reporting record months. We have people today that are watching their pipelines build, and watching their locks build, and watching the distance between a conversation and a contract get smaller and smaller and smaller. And they're doing the right things. And, and then we got into measurement. Peter Drucker always said that if you don't measure something, you can't improve it. And so it got to this idea of, like, what would happen if we did improve some of the things that matter most? What if we simplified the whole process and just said, in any market, but particularly in today's market, what do you do to keep things very focused and very simple and win? And there's enough business out there for the people doing the right thing to win. The other thing, Dave, is that if you do the right thing, you don't have as much competition. And we're just finding that there's a lot of soft muscle atrophy in the market right now. There's a lot of skill sets that used to be sharp that are a little dull right now. And I think everybody's trying to figure out, how do I get better? And that's not a bad question, but the idea is what's the number one area in which you should get better, which is why this thing has been themed one skill. What's the one area that you could bet the farm on? I mean, beyond anything else, and if you got good at this one thing, it would change your income by $10,000 to $30,000 a month. And so that's how the idea came about. Can't hear you.
Testing. Okay, there we go. So you hear me. Sorry about that. I upgraded the mic and the computer didn't like it. So hopefully I sound okay. So I love that. What is the one thing that can improve your income by $10,000 to $30,000 a month? Super, super powerful. I want to remind everybody this is a mastermind. So I see some people with the reactions, give it a heart, give it a thumbs up. Trust me, Todd likes that kind of thing. So and so do I. But if either one of us say something that you like, let us know that you like it. Also, if you have questions, if you're watching this live in Zoom, ask your questions in chat. If you're watching this live in Facebook, put it in comments. And for the bigger audience that's watching this on our YouTube channel, let us know when you got value and let us know if you have questions. So Todd, I know you've got a prepared, a presentation you want to walk us through that's going to help everybody crush it in this market. Reminder, everyone, this is part one. Part two is coming this Wednesday or this Friday at 9:00. So what you got, Todd?
Again, thanks for the opportunity. So as Dave said, we're breaking this into two parts and we will have an interactive dialogue, but I thought what I would do is just kind of get us going on what matters more than anything today. And if anybody's followed us for, a month, that we're all about trust and we're about high trust. And we're always about what is the difference maker when you think about what happens in a market like we're in right now. And there's no downside, literally zero downside to the ability to not only sequence trust, but accelerate the velocity with which trust is created. And what you will see is that one decision can roll up very clearly into the one skill set that we need to have. And so we began this journey in 1992. And as Dave mentioned, Sales Mastery, this is the first picture of the first Sales Mastery. And we had 292 loan officers in the audience. And it was at that moment that I started talking about high trust partnerships and had come out of 12 years of doing loans and doing a lot of them and realized the winning skill set was always about the trust factor. And so when we began to really think about how do we build a tenet, if you will, a DNA around this sales modality, which is really what trust is, it became like, this is what we're going to bet the farm on. We're going to bet the farm on that if people trust you faster and they trust you more, they'll do more business with you and then they will refer you to more people. So what that led us to really understand is this idea of our system, right? And I think what makes our system super, super unique, and Dave, you wanted to talk about this just a little bit, is we have three things that we feel go into doing the one thing, which is getting that conversion rate at optimal percentages, right? So one thing is our mindset. We're not about lead gen. We're about collecting referrals. We're about a strategic referral management business OS that allows you at the very, very front end to have a higher conversion rate because you're talking to people to whom you've been referred versus those people that for them, this would be the first conversation or contact you've had and there is no referral. The second mindset is that we don't sell, we serve. And Dave and I have been in think on this from the first day I met him, that it's about relationship and partnership. And for us, it's like, if we don't serve the partners, then we don't get enough of the referrals. And if we don't get enough of the referrals, the conversion really doesn't matter, right? And so when we think about serving versus selling, we take the spotlight off of us representing, a brand or a product or this or that, and we really put it back on the partner. And the partner can be a host of people that have referable universes or orbits that we can get into. And then the last one is we don't chase transactions, we build relationships, and a partnership cannot exist unless a relationship is built. And so people that have heard that then have to identify with, well, I know that to be true. How come right now it's not working like it used to, or how come I've never taken this to the level that we're going to talk about? And so, Dave, your commentary on these three things I think are huge. And what would you say about what I just said in terms of how it matches up with what you guys do at Trust Engine?
Well, stop sharing. Well, actually, I could take over the screen real quick. I had a thought while you were walking us through this. And I think this will make the point of just how synced Todd and I are. I was at that event. So that audience and that picture you said, I was at that event. And I was, on the beginning of what I now call the advice revolution. This was the beginning of that advice revolution. And I had followed Todd for years beforehand. It's just that this was before Todd offered training to the public. It used to be you had to be a big company, pay a lot of money to get Todd Duncan to do training and speaking. I mean, he was, a legend even back in those days. But this was the value prop I had landed on. And this is actually a photo shoot from a brochure that I was making. And the brochure was how I positioned myself with realtors, which was my advice makes a difference. And this was a photo shoot from that in 1992. I married my wife in 1991. You can see our little wedding picture back here. Of course, you came out with high trust selling. So, I couldn't be more aligned on, how important it is to be trusted. Clearly having advice that matters is essential to that. It's an essential formula to that. But I guess, Todd, I think I know what makes high trust selling system so unique. What do you think makes the high trust selling system so unique?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is it's a disruptor. We know intuitively that people don't do business with brands or people they don't trust, right? And so that is probably not the biggest point of the sale. The biggest point of what is high trust is what it does for organizations and the people, like everybody that's on, that are involved in those organizations. We do this, right? And so when we look at this, and I made a note here, Dave, if you're a branch manager, regional or national, one of the things you're dealing with today is the cost of retaining, the cost of recruiting and losing people. And so the first thing that High Trust does for a company is it aids in retaining and recruiting top talent to your team. It's that straightforward. The second thing it does is it gives you consistent business flow from top agents and advisors. We don't have to prospect every single day to get new partners. We have to find the partners, build the relationship, and then just park on those and continue to develop and create loyalty around there. We're a referral machine in terms of intentionality. We know that every single borrower that comes into the High Trust experience with a loan officer that understands High Trust is a person that will intentionally refer their orbit to us, and the big economics have a lot to do with that referral. The bottom line is the system works whether it's a purchase market, a refi market, or a combination of both. It doesn't matter. It works in any modality, right? It works in parent relationships. It works in spousal relationships. We have a joke here: get your spouse to agree with you. And we say joking, but it's true. Like, the deeper the trust in any relationship, the more significant and the more loyal that relationship becomes. And so that's what makes us different. Our tagline in the book is make more money in less time with less stress. And I think a lot of the systems out there tell you, yeah, you can make more money, but you got to work harder. You got to talk to more people. You got to, blah, 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 blah. At some point, we want to flip the script for every originator where your income goes from earned income to residual income. And the only way you can do that is to have more and more partnerships that just keep giving you business, period. And and you don't have to go out and turn over a new stone. So I think that to me in a nutshell is it's a scalable and sustainable business. And you know as well as I do, Dave, the more repeat business you get and the more referral business you get, the more valuable your business brand as a loan officer is. And it's just you can be an advice centric LO that can master the velocity of trust and get higher conversion without talking to more people, or you can be a low price loan officer and you can get a lot of business that way too, but it's not based on trust necessarily. It might be trust in the brand and not you, a big bank perhaps, or it could be that the only thing that the borrower's been conditioned to really understand is the question about interest rate, which we already know there's a million different ways to answer that. So it's just that's how we're different. There's a point in time where you don't have to prospect as much in our system. You just simply love on your clients, nurture your clients, and retain them, and the business explodes.
Love that. What are you seeing with loan officers today? I mean, you titled this "The Reality of Now," and then you also casted a vision of how everybody could be making a lot more money if they really did the right things and really had the right vision. But what are you seeing with loan officers in today's market?
Yeah, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here's the picture. I think a lot of loan officers right now are not prepared for hard. I see thousands and thousands of loan officers that wish it were easy again. And when you look at the picture on the left, that's easy. It's easy to not be in shape. It's easy to wake up and not have discipline. It's easy to take your eye off the ball. And when you look at getting out of sales shape, anybody that's ever had a gym membership, anybody that's ever realized the power of getting in shape, realizes the longer you're not in shape, the harder it is to get back in shape. Getting in shape is hard. So any loan officer watching this and any loan officer that reports to leaders, your loan officers have to do hard right now. And by hard, I mean, it's not like an uphill battle. It could be in terms of getting some strength back. It could be that, 40 hours of role playing would really be powerful right now over the next month. It could be that, I'm going to do the hard lifting every day that I know is going to pay off in time. And I'm going to go from easy and being out of shape to disciplined and being in shape, and the 10 to 30 or 40 or $50,000 a month that the economy and the world of economics would provide you right now will not be accessible to you if you're on the left. It will only be accessible to you if you're on the right. And so what we know is when we think about what is really easy and it's easy not to do hard things. But it's not very hard to do easy things, which could be nothing right now, right? And then you add to that the gap between borrower conversations and contracts. We have a lot of people that have engaged even in a higher interest rate market that they realize that concept, Dave, of date the rate and marry the house. And 18, 20 months from now, we're going to be able to refi anyway. It's sales skills productivity right now. It's what fuel are you putting into your sales dynamic today to have a different conversation, to have a more accurate conversation, a more simplified conversation. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how in shape are you to have a more velocitous conversation, which accelerates trust and even half the time? And then more importantly, what is that one skill we're going to talk about that makes the $30,000 a month work? And what we know is same analogy. Before coaching, people are out of shape. After coaching, they're in shape. And what does in shape mean? We know that in our world, that if you come into coaching, you're going to make an extra $500 an hour within 10 months of coming into coaching. Why? Not because we're giving you 100 new things to do, but we're refining the one skill that matters most, and the one skill that has the biggest impact on the economy that you are able to create is how good are you at a conversation? That's it. I mean, if we just dumb it down to one thing, how good are you at a conversation? And so I think there's a link in the chat that if anybody wants to talk about how do we make this happen? And do you like the idea of going from $40 an hour, which is the national average right now for the lending industry, to $500 an hour in 10 months? It's only based on what I'm about to tell you. And to have the role playing and the discipline and the accountability. And then once the business scales, Then you got to have the capacity figured out. So then coaching goes into time, it goes into productivity, it goes into hourly rate, goes into delegation, goes into scale, goes into SOPs. I mean, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you want to make $10,000 to $30,000 more a month, starting like next month and the month after, all you have to do is get good at one thing today and just get good at that for the next 30 to 60 days. And your life will never be the same. Even when the market changes and gets great, your life will never be the same. And I know, Dave, you believe in this. I know that you've supported us in our coaching company for a long time. What do you see as a leader in the industry, a digital leader and a business leader? What do you see when you watch people that you've referenced that we've had impact on? What do you see happen to them?
Oh, it's transformational. I mean, the amount of success financially and in every way for, the most successful loan officers that have the best conversations. Like I loved what you said, how good are you at having a great conversation? And it really does come down to skills. So I know I have an answer, and I don't know if we have the same answer for this, but I do want to know, in the context of, this market, in the context of achieving, the promise you've made in the headline here, what is the one skill that today's loan officers need?
I'm going to put, if you guys are in chat, just answer this question right now. Does a $500 raise per hour sound interesting to you? Just type in why if that's interesting to you. I want to see what happens. So Paul, can you enable that so I can just see what's happening as people are in the chat?
Yeah, the chat is there, and
there we go. We got our first yes.
we got a why, and
where's everybody else?
Yeah, well, we are getting some of these little reactions and these emojis.
Oh, I see those. Yeah.
So
Carl Stryker.
what's up, Carl Stryker?
Are you worth it?
Are you worth it? I'll say yes twice. Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for giving us a double answer.
Yeah.
And for all you that gave it, and then Gary Fish over here of yes, of course, lots of thumbs up. So I think they're liking
on the right
what
track. We're on the right track. Okay, so here's the deal. And you're gonna go, are you kidding me? We had to wait 20 minutes for this. No, I promised you to keep it very simple. And I'm gonna go back in history right now. I was talking with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and he said, have you ever heard this quote from Leonardo da Vinci on simplicity? And I go, I'm not sure. And so he forwarded the quote to me, and one of his quotes is, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And what I take that to mean is that our businesses that are not dumbed down to the most simplified idea, that when mastered, make us look like geniuses. Until we understand that, we make everything complex. And so when we look at the one skill, we simply are having you ask yourself a question right now. And the question is, if we stopped right now, would you put your hand up in the affirmative and say, I need to be better at that? And this is not a baited question. It's not rhetorical. It's not like, I want to make you look like a fool. It is like, we've studied this. I mean, we've studied it. And, it's interesting because if we're talking about going in and increasing your revenue by $10,000 to $30,000 a month, I can tell you right now, you can either go wide and stay shallow and try to generate that revenue, or you can stay narrow and go deep, which is the key to high trust. And then once you go narrow and deep, then it expands at a much higher velocity because you have gone narrow and deep. So that's the one skill, Dave. And when we look at like the marketplace and we study this, I want you to know that I would love for you just to believe me at face value when I say that the greatest zone for sales muscle improvement for almost every loan officer in the world is this one skill. And that if we don't have this, we have nothing. And when we look at the discipline of hard, follow-up is hard. It is easy not to follow up. And yet follow-up is where the magic takes place. And so I don't want to have anybody think that, why is he talking about something so basic? The reason I'm talking about something so basic is because even guys and gals that I've coached that make over $1 million a year are constantly tweaking and measuring their follow-up. And so when we have that and we begin to understand that, Dave, it opens up the doors to increase the velocity. So we promised on this two-part series, one skill, one strategy. As is always the case, I actually have two strategies, but they're both based on the one skill, and they just involve different conduits, which you serve every single day as a mortgage professional. So we sat out and we wanted to be able to speak with authority about what actually goes in to a in-shape salesperson. You know, what is the sales fuel, which is the name of our app? What is the sales fuel that they take in every single day, that they drink from, to have an energized approach to making more money in less time with less stress? And so we sat out on that journey, Dave, and we created a data bank of just pretty revealing skills. And I know you know a lot of them too, but I hope that in the next 35 minutes you get caught by this data. And then I have the two strategies to share with you. And then on Friday, we're going to unleash the two strategies with the scripts and the dialogues and the words that you're going to need to really understand about conversion. And then I want to show you what happens when you do this. So any comments on that, Dave, before we get into the data?
I can't wait for, and I know the audience can't wait for tactics and scripts on Friday.
Here we go.
I do want to add, because I think there's two skills that there'll be haves and have-nots. When we flash forward into 2025 in lending and we look at the mortgage advisors that are killing it, they're going to have the skill and habit of follow-up. So there's no denying that is a differentiator between the haves and the have-nots in this industry. But I also think advice, and there's we'll do a separate call on this, Todd. I don't want to get bogged down, but there's a lot of loan officers that are like, oh, I give advice. And when I hear the advice, it's transactional advice, walking people how to qualify and transactional advice. And that, guys, that's not a differentiator. The best of the best, they're not just selling loans, they're selling financial freedom. They're selling advice to help consumers achieve financial freedom. So, to me, there really are two critical skills, follow-up and advice. But hey, Todd, this is your show, so let's focus on follow-up. And I'd love for you to just kind of walk us through your loan officer system. You've got a productivity system and a way in which you turn unsuccessful, or let's just say someone successful, you get them to the next level to get that 10 to 30,000 extra. Walk us through that.
We help people get in shape with their sales productivity. That's what we do, right? Coining the Clay Hebert perfect intro. So the thing that is important to understand is I'm not going to load you up a lot of data. I've only picked two areas that I want you to understand that you need to ask the question as you see this. What is my answer to this question? I'm not going to ask you to put it in chat. I'm not going to ask you to do any of that. Dave's got the PDF of this, and so you'll be able to refer back to this element of the productivity study. But the bottom line is we did this study from June of last year all the way through January 31st of this year. I think everybody would argue that is a pretty good time frame, right? And that starting in February and March of this year, things really started to get a little bit sketchy. So I think that further implicates that this data has even gotten more focused and important today as the market has declined a little bit. But we understand that in the mortgage business, there's about 374,000 loan officers and brokers. The population that responded to this survey during that time was just shy of 11,200. If we look at the statistical accuracy of this survey, it's 96% statistically confident, which puts it in the upper echelon of surveys, meaning that what we're about to talk to, without understanding exactly how the science works, applies to all 374,000 people, even though the survey results came from a smaller nucleus of 11,132. And the margin of error is 0.91. So let me show you the first bank. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being totally confident, how would you rate your current purchase business plan? So you guys can look at this, and you can take a look at the average or below, and you can take a look at the 9% that give themselves a 4 or a 5. And so people say, well, okay, so how do I have a business plan that I can operate from? Well, we have a tool for you. There's no cost whatsoever. You can come right into it, and I'll show you right now how to make the money. So let's just say a loan officer on this call wants to make $200,000 a year. Okay, you're going to have this link in the chat. Let's say your average loan amount is $400,000. And let's say your average commissions are 110 basis points. Let's say that your pre-purchase conversations to a triggered application, that means they're in contract and or in process. Let's say that is 20%. Right now, it's a little lower than that in the industry, but we'll use 20. It's about 18 actually. And then let's say that we want 4 referred buyers per referral partner per month as part of our business plan, right? And then once all this is done, let's say that 85% of those triggered loans in process fund. So those are the 6 variables. Now watch what happens to the magic, okay? So we come down here and we know that you've got to close $18 million, 0.21 loans every day. You can't get, a fifth of a loan a day. And so we have this panel that tells us exactly what you need to do. So you're going to fund 45 loans. You need to bring in 21 million. You need to originate 53 loans into processing. That marries down to the 0.21. If we go to the bottom left, it says that I need to have 1.03 loans a week, or 0.21 daily. My conversion is 20%. I need 1.05 daily pre-purchase consultations, which is a pre-call on steroids, 5.25 a week. Over on the right, it says I need to have 23 conversations, 2275, 23 conversations a month. And to do that, I need 6 referral partners. This is where the velocity of trust really starts to impact and where the economic gain takes place. So now when we scroll down to the next level, it asks a simple question: what if? Okay, so right now, based on the math that we put in, you're going to be making $20,000 a month. So that's $240,000 a year in income. Let's say that the one skill, which is follow-up, let's say that we master that to the level where we improve that conversion rate by, let's just put 10%. Okay, so that could be, I don't know, 1.5% a month for 6, 7, 8 months, but I'll just put in 10. Watch what happened down below. So the current income unit is 4.45. The new monthly unit is 6.93. So now you've gone down below by improving your conversion rate by 10%. You've increased your monthly income by $10,000 a month. How long would it take for you to adopt the skill to be that good where you could get an extra 2.6 loans a month? And I'm going to tell you 30 days or less, which is why we're doing this 2-part series. Now, watch what happens here. If I take it up to like our master level coaching block and we take it to 35%, your income now went up $15,000. Okay. And what we do know is at the very top in our elite, these guys are at 40% minimum. So now you're making an extra $20,000 a month. So the one skill set that makes you $10,000 to $30,000 more in income is the skill set of conversation mastery, which is what Dave alluded to. And it's the advice centricity of that makes a difference. If I'm a branch manager and I've got 10 loan officers and they all want to make 200 grand, then all I have to do is come back in here and I can do 2 million, which is the branch of 10. All this stuff stays the same, but now we need 55 partnerships and 222 conversations. And now as the branch manager, if I take my team up to 40%, let's take this back down to something more realistic, 10%. I'm increasing the volume in the branch by month by 22 units. Okay. And so now the monthly income of the loan officers in the branch goes from 195,000 to 293,000, or I'm increasing that by $98,000 a month for my team. And so we look at this, we look at the business plan and we look at the opportunity, and we look at, particularly if we're talking about, those guys and gals that as managers are trying to retain people and recruit people and so on and so forth. This is an interesting calculation too, that if I can do this and I help somebody improve their investments by 6% ROI per year, my loan officers are going to be worth an extra $700,000 in 5 years. So when we talk about why is it that so few people have the business plan, it's like, I don't know why. But in coaching, you have to follow the plan every single day. So watch this. How would you rate your follow-up skills with your referral partners? Okay, 3% give themselves a 5. So what's the key to making $10,000 to $30,000 more a month? Follow up with your referral partners. I'll unpack that for you in part 2. Do you know the top 3 needs each of your referral partners have? 21% say yes, 79% say no. It's hard to make calls on referral partners if you don't know what they need. So take that to the bank. Do you talk with your referral partners every week to generate mutually beneficial business development opportunities? 26% say yes, 74% say no. So if you want to talk about like how to get the business going, I'm gonna make this as simple as possible. If there's only 7% of loan officers that have confidence in their purchase business plan and you're not in the 7%, you need to come alongside us and let us help you get confident there. Let us help you build that plan. You got the link to it. You can go online. You can do your business plan. You can modify it every day. You can cut anything you want out of it, and you can put anything you want into it. We've got business plans for a loan officer team of 1,000 people. When you start looking at the value there, it's off the grid. But it all comes down, Dave, to one skill, just one skill, and that is like right here. 80% of the industry does not follow up with their partners because they don't know what they're looking for and they do not stay in touch with them to generate referrals. So you can't have an increased conversion rate if you don't have an increase in referrals necessarily, and that's a big deal. So I like what Zig Ziglar says. He said, he died probably 10 years ago, I think, but he's a good friend of mine. He said, prospecting is like taking a shower. If you don't do it every day, pretty soon you stink. So the question for everybody is like, could you take up by like an X factor, a double or a triple or a quadruple? Could you take that up on how you serve your partners? People are buying real estate this year. There's going to be 4.5 million real estate transactions this year. To have any other attitude other than I am optimistic and this is exciting. And when I realize the gap between a conversation with a borrower and going into contract is longer than it has traditionally been, then here's the other differentiation. I got to follow up with the borrowers longer. So I know that might sound like simple, but again, when you see the data on it, it's going to blow your mind. Dave, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, anyone who just saw that tool that Todd shared online, he gave us a link, the business plan calculator. If you're watching this live, there is a link. Click on it after the session, fill it out. If you're watching the recording of this, our biggest audience in YouTube, there will be a link down below. You guys got to click on this. Just go through this experience, this process. You can't fix what you don't measure. So go ahead and measure your efficiency on both conversion and follow-up. Super powerful. So click down below, check that out. We're getting a lot of great feedback. I've seen everything from a wow, lots of hearts, lots of clapping. You guys loving it? You are loving it. So, all right. So I know a couple of things. One, I want to hear more, takeaways from this research. I always love research. And I also want to hear about some of the strategies at hand. So, walk us through your research study.
Yeah. So let me go back to where we were on this, and hopefully, yeah. So we take a look at what do we do to compensate for the research I just showed you, right? And so the strategy, I told you that we have one skill, one strategy, and then I told you at the front end we have 2 strategies, but they're both the same thing, which is a different vertical. Tune up and turn up your referral engine, okay? So these are the 5 steps you should start taking today. Number 1, create a new business plan for the next 6 to 12 months. Follow that plan and measure your success every day. The one place that we want to measure your success starts with the conversation metric that you put in the business plan and how many referral partners you need to make that metric work. Then we pop down to number 2. I'm going to give you 7 scripts on Friday. I need you to master those scripts and dialogues. You've got to be game ready in any selling situation. The reason that I invented Sales Fuel is because I know passionately that if you don't know what to say in a selling situation, you will lose. And it's as clear to me as the day that most loan officers do not know what to say when something happens in a conversation that you could intentionally be prepared for and ready to go. So the scripts that I'm going to show you, you'll be able to use those scripts, no strings attached, and I'll lead you down the path of how to implement those scripts. Here's number 3, big deal, asterisk. Every day, set appointments with referral partners that you know are good. You've done business with them, but you have ignored them, and or you haven't done what we're going to ask you to do, which is getting back face to face with them, reconnecting in a humble way, an authentic and transparent way, and then doing the hard work, having the conversation about how you can help them win, and having the conversation about what do they need a lender now more than ever in today's market, and who are they talking to that they know are going to buy at some point in time, but they're not sure when, and how do you have a conversation with them that really predates whatever time they might be making an offer or a contract. And so we want to re-engage the people we know, love, and trust, but we haven't done a good job. Then number 4, we want to set appointments with new referral partners that we haven't yet met with and do the high trust interview. We have a high trust interview document online. Again, no charge. It's a free download, and it's how to conduct the high trust interview. And I'm going to give you a 21-day challenge. I would like you for 21 business days in a row, I'd like you to set one new appointment with one new partner that you've never taken business from, but you know is a winner and you want to win their business. 21-day challenge, 21 new appointments. And at the end of those 21 days, I believe you'll have 5 new business partners that can refer you between 20 and 30 buyers a month. Now, we're going to have to go a little bit wider in today's market because agent business is down a little bit. Inventory, in some markets is still pretty tight, but everything's going to unlock. And we look at the economy for the next 2 years. I need everybody to understand the work you do today makes next month easier. The work you put in today is planting seeds and getting back to freaking basics and keeping things simple is what is going to make the difference 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now. Don't get excited about marketing in January of next year when interest rates hit 5. Get excited about marketing today so that when interest rates hit 5 and drop below that, which they're forecasted to do next year, you're in the right place with the right people at the right time, and you won't have to start prospecting then. That's a big disruptor. And then nurture your partners. Call them once a week and ask referral generation questions. And I will give you 3 of those. But bottom line is these 5 things have to be done. The reason why they have to be done is because we need more borrowers and we need to get better with the borrowers we have. Anybody that we've had a conversation with that's not in contract, we have to get better. Jeremy Forcier's favorite quote that I remember from Mastery, how long do you follow up with them? And his answer was, I follow up with them till they buy or die. And, Jeremy's one of the most prolific mortgage bankers in the history of mortgage banking. So, bottom line is look at this rating, you guys, 12% say that they are 4 or 5, with 5 being best on following up with borrowers. So again, I'm sorry, but I'm going to just pull Da Vinci out of the hat again. Okay. Simplification is the best form of sophistication. Keep it simple, and then you look like you're a pro, right? By not making things hard. And we look at this, Dave, and it's scary, because we look at the gap and we understand right now that we do have to follow up uniquely. We do have to follow up more differently today. We do need to use advice-centric, game-changing questions. And again, all of the second part of this, script, right? But I need you to get in business planning mode and set the stage for the 21-day challenge. And I need you to understand that we've got to change the conversation dynamics that you have with every borrower. And then that increases the purpose for why you would follow up, right? So we look at this one. Where could you do a better job? I just want everybody to take a freaking deep breath right now and go, are you kidding me? Because I could ask you this, and based on the statistical accuracy of our data set, you would be in this data set. So where do we really fall apart? We fall apart from the time we get to meet a borrower until there's actually a contract. Okay, and that's all like pre, right? And the stuff in the middle doesn't matter, but we fall apart before that, and then we fall apart after the loan closes. I mean, if 87% of the industry says that they are in need of doing a better job in the two areas that matter most, I would just say, let's just get great at that. Let's just really get great at that really, really quickly, right? And so then you look at it and you go, well, what would it ultimately do for me? Well, here's Susan Hatfield. My conversion rate of borrowers, PCs, which we call pre-purchase consultations, to applications, which is contract and or in process, went from 17% to 40% in 90 days using the High Trust system. I want you to go back to the business plan and I want you to do the math, right? I mean, if we go back and we go, what's the math on increasing my conversion rate by 20%? You guys see this, right? I go from 4.5 loans to 9.10 loans. I go from 20 grand to 40 grand. There's $20,000 a month right there. So I'm not trying to make this complicated. I'm trying to remind you of what is simple. And what is simple is deciding that come hell or high water, I am following up with borrowers, period. End of story. And I was talking with one of our elite members last night, and he goes, even today, 9 out of 10 borrowers I'm having conversations with are not looking for homes yet. Okay, they're referrals coming in that are going to be buying, right? And we take this like 17% to 40%, and one of our top elite members is at 71%. What happens to income when you take this conversion? Because you're not having cold lead conversations. These are conversations with borrowers that are being referred to you. What happens when you do this? And what happens when you go from 17% to 40%? Well, you go from making 100 grand to making 400 grand. It's super straightforward. So what we've always taught is this nurture sequence, right? Engage your borrowers in a nurture sequence. So over on the left, 3 things. Contact every borrower you have that is approved but not yet in contract. Okay, if you've done a full-blown pre-qual, credit pull, all that kind of stuff, and we're waiting for a property, they are the proverbial TBD. Okay, that is your hottest lead. Sequence them every week if they're buying within 90 days. You see the funnel on the right, okay? And you do this very simply. We say phone calls. You could easily do videos. You could do one-time videos. You could do some of the data conversions with some of the marketing. We say over here in the picture, please stay away from auto marketing. Auto marketing is not working in today's conversion society. Auto marketing is actually creating polarity. So be careful not to try to nurture your borrower funnel with automated marketing. It says you don't know what they need. It says you don't care. And you can have some of those sequences, but they're better off communicated in video, which is a one-time video, and better off that way instead of email. And email, we know based on Stratmore's stuff that it's getting worse and worse in terms of the ultimate client experience. And then number 3 says for every other week or even every 3 weeks, keep contacting, adding value, and connecting. Don't overthink this. You can make a 1-minute call to 100 buyers in a week, and that is better off than not talking to them at all, even though you've had a conversation with them. And so when we really understand the nature of this, I've got to take the referral partnerships with my agents and referral partners up, connect, and as a result of that, I'm going to be able to get more and more borrower conversations. Okay, I'm not going to add more referral partners necessarily to get more borrower conversations. I'm going to be in touch every week, uniquely and differently, to generate more buyer conversations. And again, all that will be unpacked for you on Friday. But one of the things that's in high trust selling is if you don't follow up, they won't follow through. And that is an old idea that is very, very relevant today. Throughout society, throughout millenniums of sales professionals, follow-up is king. And I know it sounds basic, but if Da Vinci, who's one of the greatest inventors of all time, says keep it simple, you got to keep it simple. And I think the key to implementation is simplification. I think we make things far too complex. And build a consultation-centric advice waterfall type business. Study what the pros are doing to have enough advice to give, engage in a way that borrowers are going to go, I have never had a conversation like this with a lender before. Or a first-time home buyer who says, wow, we were so scared. And after hearing from you, we're not afraid anymore. Those are the conversations that we need to have. And so as we look at this and we look at, that is now, right? Friday is going to be next. So within one business week, 5 days, you're going to go from here's the mindset. Here's what the reality of now is. Now is we need to re-engage partnerships. Now is we need to change our conversation with borrowers. Now is we need to follow up in unique and different ways. If you gave up all other time expenditures and reallocated the non-essentials to the essentials of follow-up, now your next is going to be that much bigger and that much greater. So part of what we want to do is we want to help you with scripts and dialogues. If you want high trust training, you can come right into our site and download videos on what we're doing right now. And one of the most recent ones is how to really conquer the rate shopping buyer right now with rates where they are. Nothing that we're talking about on our call with Dave and Trust Engine do you have to buy. Okay, we're just saying here's the resources, here's the tools. Get a consultation scheduled with a coach, download the High Trust interview, engage in coming onto our website and having high trust training. Do those three things, and then Friday I'm going to give you a total of 13 scripts, and we're going to go through them one by one by one by one by one. It's going to be your lucky Friday, and then you're going to be able to go out and do next. And I think what we should do is we should have another call at the end of the 21-day challenge, Dave, and we should get everybody online and just hear what happened. So that's what I got for today, brother. And we can do questions. We can do anything you want for the next however long.
9 minutes. Yeah, well, we got 9 minutes. So first of all, let Todd Duncan know what you thought of what he went through. I know I loved it. I got tons of value from that. I know people are fired up about next Friday, 13 Todd Duncan scripts. I cannot wait for that. Paul, let's get Todd scheduled for that 21-day debrief. And we're going to be looking for success stories. So for those of you that are going to take this challenge, 21 days, one realtor meeting per day, you're going to be doing all this follow-up. I just can't wait. I love what we just went through. So Todd, I wrote down the words trust sequences. And I wrote those down because you also kind of called out everybody on nurturing, how like actually a lot of the, call it auto nurturing that lenders code, it doesn't increase trust. Like those are not trust sequences. Those are noise sequences. You know what a trust sequence is, guys? It's when you're one, first of all, you have your data in a CRM. It's being monitored by Sales Boomerang and Trust Engine so that you can be valuable. Like when someone hits, hey, it looks like a cash out refi, they've got credit, they have debt. By the way, that's SOS, they need help. Like I've done interviews where sometimes that's a family in need and they just need help. Sometimes we're seeing, because we have all the data, many a times those are turning into purchases. People are like, selling the home, taking all their cash out, and then they're going and buying a home for 5% down, and that's a realtor referral. When you take an app on a purchase and they double app you need to know that. Like you need to get that alert, that double application alert. So to be valuable, first of all, you need to be monitoring your database, and then you need to give advice. You need to respond to signals with advice. So nurturing is not a trust sequence. Following your database, also taking great notes, understanding what people's goals are, what people's priorities are. An annual review, that is a trust sequence. Calling up with people, they told you at the close of escrow, By the way, I loved this chart. I want to show it on my screen real quick because I thought this was so telling. This is a data point from Todd's study. But you know what this tells me? It tells me what I already know. The industry is obsessed and does a pretty damn good job of doing transactions. But if you want to be an advisor, it's that pre-app. It's the conversation and the value you're bringing pre-app, and then it's post-closing. Like that is where the haves and the have-nots are going to play. This is where loan officers live. This is where mortgage advisors that are delivering trust sequences, like data, advice, information. So Todd, we do have 5 minutes. I want to make sure and remember everyone, Todd gave us a link. If you have not filled that out before Friday, you're not going to get as much value. So make sure that you're looking at your own numbers, you're clicking on that link. If you're a reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link to Todd's personal survey, business planning survey down below. Todd, how do you want to close out today to make sure everybody's prepped for Friday? And anything else you want to make sure you say before we run out of time?
Two things that come to mind right now based on what you said is it's so easy to follow up when you use these words. This is a script. You ready? This is what we're going to do next. ... So anytime an advisor says to a borrower, this is what we're going to do next, okay, then the next is embedded and now the follow-up is expected. So if you say this is what we're going to do next and you don't follow up, then you're unprofessional and you can't be in the category of making an extra $30,000 a month or more. So that's number one. Number two, how we are different is we focus on advice first, price second. Set that up. It's an embedded command. How we're different from most lenders who are happy to quote you an interest rate is we choose to focus on learning what you need, giving you solid advice, and then talking about the most cost-efficient way for you to acquire that real estate. That is a game changer right there. So I want you to I want you to schedule a free coaching call. There's no strings attached. It's 15 minutes long. We'll help you win through coaching and add that extra $500 per hour in revenue. I want you to download the High Trust Interview. It's going to be the tool you're going to be using with your agents, for your agents, and with your borrowers. I want you to engage in the free High Trust coaching online and have that opportunity. And I want you to really think between now and Friday, what will my life look like by the end of July when I'm making an extra $10,000 to $30,000 a month in today's market? And by the way, if we do the hard work now, 2024 is going to be an absolute windfall for you. But if you don't prepare now, we don't plant the seeds now, we don't get the business dialed now, you're going to play catch up in 2000. You do not want to catch up with a good economy when the good economy starts happening. You want to be caught up in a bad economy and ready to go.
Boom. All right. Awesome call, Todd. Can't wait for Friday. This is one where all you managers on this, make sure you're attending, make sure you're doing branch manager sessions around this. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you give it a like, make sure you share it with your mortgage friends, your leadership team. Todd Duncan, as always, you are the man. You got a closing quote for us?
Yep. I'm going to read this from Jim Rohn's book called The Treasury of Quotes. You ready? Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. It is the accumulative weight of our disciplines and our judgments that leads us to either fortune or failure.
I'm going to close with that. That was amazing, brother. Oh, double knuckle. This call is a wrap, everybody. Hope everybody got value. Thank you, Todd Duncan. Appreciate it.
Talk soon. See you Friday.
Take care, everybody.